Hello, boys and girls. Big Scary back here to give you another great show. And let me remember to tell you to smash the like button and hit the subscribe button so you'll get notified when another great show comes out. So I'm gonna give you a rundown of the UFC fight night. Hooker versus Poirier. It was another great card. It's just, who knows? Maybe it's just haven't had a lot of sports to watch lately, they're really amazing cards. It's been every week, back to back to back, and this one didn't disappoint either. It's coming from the Apex Center in Vegas, and next they're going to take a week off. There's going to be a week break for the UFC, and then the next event will be on the 11th of July, and that'll be at Fight Island, and that's got some big fights on there. There's gonna be three championship fights. What is it? Usman versus Gilbert Burns at welterweight. Volkanovski against Max Holloway rematch at featherweight. And what is the last fight? The last championship fight. It is. Oh yes, Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo at bantamweight. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yes, that's this is just amazing card. But let me get back to the rundown of Poirier versus Hooker, which was brought to us in Vegas at the Apex Center, and our first fight of the evening was at featherweight, was Jordan Griffin against Youssef Zalal. And Griffin came out very aggressive at the beginning, throwing haymakers, going for takedowns, but Zalal, he just bid his time and just was over time just picked him off. And as the fight went on and Griffin got more and more tired, Zalal picked up his technique showed how much better he was, and also Griffin's technique kind of wilted a little bit as he got tired. But it was an all-around decent win for Youssef Zalal. Our next fight of the evening was Kay Hansen against Jin Yu Frey, and it was Jin Yu was like I think she was the Invicta Atomweight champion, and so she's moving up in this was at strawweight. In her first UFC fight, and Kay Hansen is only 20 years old, so she definitely put on a nice performance. Jin Yu was looking better on the feet, but as the fight wore on and Hansen was able to implement her grappling game more and more, eventually in the third round she was able to get the fight to the ground and force a tap out from armbar. So a nice win from Hansen. That's she said she'd gotten involved in MMA watching Ronda Rousey fight. 20 years old, got a big future in front of her. Our next fight of the evening was Phillip Lynn against Tanner Boser, and they were both came out from the very beginning throwing heavy leather, trying to take their heads off. This was at heavyweight, and but Boser was just a little bit. He was a little bit more technical, had better footwork, better movement, and as the first round went on, it showed, and he was able to get a nice KO. So it was a nice win for Boser. Our next fight of the evening was Louis Pena against Kama Worthy. Anyone who remembers Louis Pena from the Ultimate Fighter, the violent Bob Ross, and he was looking good early, looking good on the feet. He looked more technical than Worthy on the feet, and then once it got to the ground, it was just a whole nother world. He was transitioning from position to position, from submission to submission, but then surprisingly in the third round, out of nowhere, able to get a guillotine Worthy. So it was a nice come from behind win for Kama Worthy. Definitely curious to see what he's able to string together after this. I think it was like his 7th win in a row or something. Yeah, we'll see what we get next from him. Our next fight of the evening was Shawn Woodson against Julian and Rosa. And Woodson was looking good on the feet. He was technical boxer. Just looking nice, setting up some nice combinations. But then what was it? Yeah, 3rd round. Rosa was able to get him to the ground and forced a Darce choke. So that was a nice come from behind win for Rosa. Our next fight of the evening was Takashi Soto against Jason Witt. And yeah, 48 seconds, Soto came out and just completely blasted Witt. I mean, what was it? I think it was, what was it? Yeah, he landed 18 shots to Witt's 2. So yeah, it's a nice win for Soto at welterweight. Eager to see more of him. Our next fight of the evening was Brendan Allen against Kyle Daukaus. And it was definitely a nice back and forth fight, transitioning from stand up to the ground. It was a nice evenly matched fight, but Brendan Allen was able to pull out the win. It was definitely it was at middleweight. It was definitely a good fight. Our next fight of the evening was John Vellante against Maurice Greene. And Vellante was this was at heavyweight. He was moving up from light heavyweight, and I mean, it looked like, I don't know, it looked like he was probably carrying around a couple extra pounds. Like he probably, I mean, just the way his frame is, I mean, I think he probably should stay at light heavyweight. But he was looking good. He was winning on the stand up. Then he was winning on the ground. And then out of nowhere, Greene was able to get an arm triangle choke from the bottom. So that was a nice win for Greene. Our co-main event of the evening was Florida's own Mike Perry against Mickey Gall. And this is Mickey. If you know Mickey Gall, he's that was who they found to fight CM Punk. And so I mean he's got a decent ground game, and Mike Perry's predominantly known as a striker. And the interesting thing about this fight is Mike Perry didn't come with trainers or coaches. All he had in his corner was, I mean, clearly the cut man that the UFC provides for him, but he had his girlfriend, and I can do no justice to saying it. You kind of just have to go watch it. It's just an interesting back and forth between a guy and his girlfriend in the corner, and but surprisingly, it was possibly Mike's most technical fight yet. He stayed calm the whole time, never got too aggressive, and I mean he put on a clinic. I mean even won most of the grappling exchanges. It was, I mean, one of Mike Perry's best all-around performances. Was able to, it really looked like he was the big brother in the situation. But it was a nice win for Mike Perry. Our main event of the evening was Dustin Poirier against Dan Hooker. Dustin Poirier coming off it was like a 9 or 10 month layoff after the beating he took to Khabib when he challenged for the title. And I mean, you never know how. I think he had like his hip worked on. He had a bunch of surgery, so you never know how somebody's going to show up. But from the very beginning, I mean, I feel like Hooker might have won maybe the first round and possibly the second. But from there on, Dustin Poirier was able to turn it on, and just such great technique. I mean, his boxing is just superb. Some of the best boxing in the UFC. And I mean, Hooker is no slouch himself. It was just an amazing back and forth fight. I mean, just when you thought that Dustin Poirier turned the tide, and then Dan Hooker would start letting loose. I mean, oh gosh, there was some exchanges where they would take turns landing amazing combinations. It seems like every week there's the main event, or one of the fights on the card is fight of the year. But I mean, this seems like it was fight of the year so far. Just an amazing fight. So I mean, so it's good to see Dustin Poirier able to rebound after taking such a beating from Khabib, and I mean Dan Hooker definitely. I mean he showed plenty. I mean he obviously was good. I mean there was no questioning that. But I mean the performance he was able to put on against Poirier, it was definitely a good fight. So that was another fight night, another great card. And so yeah, gonna probably there's no event next week, so we'll see what I put on what the next show's about. So we're off. The UFC's off for 2 weeks, so who knows what our next episode or will be about. But you can find me at Trauma Television. Because on YouTube, because there's a Trauma Television production, and Trauma Television on Facebook, and Big Scary on Facebook, and Big Scary on Twitter. And as Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.